It is incredibly rare that beauty can be profoundly emotionally moving. Of course, the scenic views of the Swiss Alps or the Rocky Mountains, or even the undersea locations like the Great Barrier Reef, can be incredibly awe-inspiring and moving, but not often are they moving to the point of having a choked-up feeling. Even less often can this feeling be caused by a simulation, a game's graphics. However, the moment I'm about to show you was so awe-inspiring to me and so moving that I actually got choked up the first time I saw it. This scene, right here, captures the power of a game like Abzu. When a game can combine graphics with music to create a scene this powerful and moving, you know you're playing something special. Of course, Abzu isn't just a diving simulator in a gorgeous and living world, rather it is a narrative told through that gorgeous and living world. This is the approach to storytelling that Abzu performs in a way unlike any other game I've experienced this year. But what is Abzu? How does it relay its story, and what is its message and purpose? Abzu follows the story of an unnamed diver, a member or presumed member of an ancient civilization that used to live hand in hand with the sea and its inhabitants. However, as the diver discovers, the civilization industrialized and evolved to a mindset of thinking that they should not work together with nature, but rather should do their best to control nature. The many paintings on the walls of the temples you discover in the game indicate that the civilization built large harvesting devices that could automatically take the energy from the sea. You see these gathering points as lifeless and gray. At the heart of all of it is a sea energy harvesting factory. But I'm going a little too fast. Let's slow down a second. This game is kind of dense and cryptic, and I understand that, so let me do a little bit of explanation. The game does all of its storytelling through pictures, kind of like the Ratman dens in Portal. All of these large temples the civilization built next to these wells of ocean energy give the explanation the player needs. Originally, indicated by this painting, the people borrowed energy from the sea and gave it back using these pots. They lived in harmony with nature and attempted to preserve it. Whenever the people gave the energy back, life would stem, and the many fish of the sea would be born. On top of this, the paintings indicate that the people worshipped the great white shark as a sort of protector of this natural cycle. But pure harmony never exists for too long, and the people thought that they could harvest the energy without ever giving it back. So all of that brings us to the factory. They created a sort of super factory that builds these little iBots and constructs these sea mines which are meant to ward off nature and destroy it. The diver, discovering who she really is and what she's a part of, notices the comparison the game makes between the temples of the ancient civilization, which are calm and still coexist with nature, and the industrial direction her people went in. Even some of the paintings comment on this. Wei leads on to Wei, and she ends up working to destroy the oppression of nature that her civilization built. She serves at the end of the game as a sort of apology to nature on the part of her people, which is expounded by the fact that she is literally a robot created by her civilization as a controller of sea energy. So that's the general gist of the game. Got it? If you don't and want a more in-depth plot analysis, you can check out this video by Nick Moe. It's good, I promise. I'll give you a second to watch it and come back. Okay, so what exactly is Abzu arguing for? And how does it do that? What does it tell us about human interaction with nature, and how are we supposed to behave along with nature according to Abzu? To start, the game makes me think of a Bible quote, and I'm not going to go all religious on you, but it says, "For you are dust, and to dust you shall return." It's a pretty famous one from the book of Genesis, telling you to keep perspective and to recognize that you too are a part of nature. Abzu is sort of readapting this same message for an audience in 2016. And this may seem like a simple message, be good to nature, yeah, duh. But why the developers felt the need to say it is answered by the very setting of the game. When we think of preserving nature, we usually think of it with a land-based perspective, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. National parks, nature reserves, hunting and logging laws, all of these things are meant to protect nature on land. But the sea is often overlooked unless something huge happens like the BP oil spill a couple years back. So, the goal for Abzu on a game design standpoint is to make the player fall in love with nature underwater and then show them how it is being hurt. The creator of Abzu, Mike Nava, describes it best when he says,
I wanted to create a game where everyone can experience wonder, adventure, and personal transformation as I have under the sea.
This way of describing the ocean really shows how much value the people over at Giant Squid have in the ocean and preserving it. But how does Abzu make you fall in love with nature? How does it use game design to make an argument? I think that can be simply answered by saying the art direction. Already in this video, you've seen a couple bits of gameplay footage, and is the game not totally gorgeous? It is. The game is just long enough at 3 hours to capture the player's heart with serene beauty and then stab it with harsh destruction. The color palettes of the game are hugely diverse when you're in the open sea. All the colors in the plants and fish are vibrant and full of life, with enough variation to keep it all interesting. Cut to the lifeless parts of the sea, gray. Cut to the factory, fiery orange. These are colors not found in the ocean of Abzu naturally. They are off-putting, jarring, and meant to feel out of place. It is in this way that Abzu shows that the industrialization of the civilization is also off-putting and destructive. If you saw the last Roots episode, shameless plug, you would know that color matters when determining how games, or any work of art for that matter, want you to feel about something. In the video, we talk about vibrancy meaning restoration of life, and grays meaning drab, old, and dead. It's sort of the same thing here. The vibrancy of the ocean settings is meant to show life and natural splendor. Meanwhile, the darkness and monochrome of the factories and dead spots are meant to make the player recognize a sense of evil and destruction due to the contrast. While color is important and is a direct choice of the developers, it's not just color though. It's also how the game is laid out linearly. It's not until around the 20-minute mark that you see the destroyed ocean for the first time. Now, 20 minutes is not that long when we normally talk about video games, which can be hundreds of hours in length. However, in a shorter game like Abzu, that's a significant portion of time spent just taking in nature before you learn the real story behind it. Even then, you don't see the really industrialized and ruined parts of the ocean until around an hour and 20 minutes in, which is almost halfway through. The game gives you a lot of time to fall in love with this world and then discover who is actually causing the destruction, which is to say, your creators. But in the world design is where you can really see this rhetoric at play. Giant Squid brilliantly made the world of Abzu feel like a living ocean. You feel really small and unimportant in moments like when the swarm of fish are around you or the whale sequence we mentioned in the beginning of the video. You may be the only member of the old civilization that can save nature, but that doesn't necessarily mean that nature won't continue without you or is entirely reliant on you. When you meditate, you can go through the many different species of fish in a given level, and watch how they behave and eat. It's an ecosystem that the player is simply a guest in, not the bringer of. It's this kind of perspective that helps Abzu again achieve that wonder in the ocean, and it's this kind of perspective that isn't found in games very often. The final way in which Abzu uses game design to argue for conservation is through the differing tones of the soundtrack. Austin Wintory composed absolutely gorgeous pieces of music for this thing, but when the music is not present or is ambient and more synth-filled, it again stresses this whole notion of the industrialized parts feeling out of place. You can even see this in the song titles. Delphinus Delphis, which is the scientific name for dolphins, compared to Chaos, the mother, or Balanoptera musculus, the blue whale, a very gentle giant, versus Elasmosaurus platyrus, a carnivorous fish which inspired the Loch Ness Monster. No sequence in this game highlights this best than when you are diving through the fast-moving current and go into another lifeless well. All of this music, and then silence. The same happens during the whale sequence, which also leads to a more destroyed part of nature. The game structure features its most beautiful moments adjacent to its most desolate ones. It's like the game is saying, hey, isn't swimming with killer whales cool? Well, need I remind you that this can all go away if whatever is destroying the ocean continues. And after those moments, when the music swells and then ceases to continue, it is at those times that the player feels most alone. They have no more fish, no more plants, no more color, and no more music to accompany them. It is just them standing face to face with the destruction of nature. All of these different aspects, painted storytelling, color, linear structure, world design, and soundtrack, all combine to achieve a profound argument on conservation in a unique way that only games can achieve. It's an emotional attachment to the ocean that can't be read in a book or seen in a movie, or even properly explained in a video. If the goal was, as Matt Neva said, to capture the beauty of the ocean and impact people with it, then he did a damn good job. I guess if I were to sum it up in one sentence, if you like nature, play Abzu. Hey, thanks for watching my video on Abzu. I really enjoyed the game. If you liked the video, be sure to leave a like, and if you're new, how about you check out some of my other videos and click that subscribe button. The support for my last video on Adult Swim was overwhelmingly positive, so thank you all so much for the support and all the views and all the likes and everything that I got for that. It was great. Have you played Abzu? If you haven't, there's a link down below to the Steam page for it, but I really want to know what you think, so tell me in the comments. I do actually read those. Thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see you next time.